Hi, my name is Katie Rogers, and this is my paper presentation for my final research paper for senior seminar. My research topic was sibling conflict and how age affects it. My interest in this topic came from my own family dynamic because I myself have two siblings. One is an identical twin sister, so she is exactly the same age as me, just 23 minutes younger. And then I have an older sister who is about 11 years older than me. Now, growing up, we obviously experienced conflict because we were a normal family. My twin sister and I experienced conflict on a daily basis, usually multiple times a day, fighting over anything from toys to, hitting each other or playing games or anything like that. My older sister and I, when I was growing up, didn't really experience conflict so much as it was just her kind of picking on me and me just getting angry about it. Now that I am grown up and we are all adults and living on our own, we still experience conflict. It's just different. So my interest in this topic was I wanted to see if there were other people who had similar family dynamics to my own. If they had a younger sibling, an older sibling, or something like that, I wanted to see how they experienced conflict with them and how the age difference between them affected the way they experienced conflict. Currently, there is very little, if any, research that exists, to my knowledge, that specifically addresses the topic that I did for my research project. This just underscores the need for research like this because I think it's a very important and interesting topic to be studied. So this poses my research question, which is, what, if any, effect does significant age difference among siblings have on how they experience conflict? For my literature review, I had a little bit of trouble in the beginning trying to find relevant articles for the research paper in general, and that was just because I was restricting my research to the communication field. And so I broadened my search and I was able to find a lot of really great articles regarding sibling conflict, siblings, just that kind of stuff in general. So I found several themes that spanned over each article, and I'm not going to go into detail really about them just for the time's sake. But the first conflict-related theme that I found was just the use of conflict strategies. The three most prominent ones were the integrative, distributive, and avoidant. The next theme that I found was the use of relational maintenance behaviors, and relational maintenance behaviors, just like the name says, is behaviors that you use to maintain a relationship. So basically just things that you would do to maintain a relationship with somebody who the relationship is severable, like a friend, a boyfriend, girlfriend, co-worker, something like that. The next one was the theme of young children and conflict, and as one of the researchers that I was reading about said that conflict and sibling relationships kind of go hand in hand. They are, or conflict is a characteristic of sibling relationships, so it's no surprise that those are so closely related. And the last theme that I found was just the theme of that there was very little research available regarding sibling relationships. And I have said this before, I'll say it again, it is a very important topic, one that there is not a lot of research about, and it's something that I find very interesting, and it basically just underscores the need to do this research project and any future research. So the next section, which is actually my favorite section to do and to talk about, is the methods section. I had the most fun doing this. Originally I'd wanted to recruit more people to do the interview, but it just ended up with time and resources, it just wasn't going to happen. So I was able to get 10 people to participate in the study. They were all basically from the Midwest, and they responded to 10 interview questions via email. I sent them the email, they sent it back to me, and originally these participants were recruited through mostly convenience sampling. I put up a Facebook post asking for volunteers to participate in my research study, and then it turned into the snowball sampling method when these participants asked if they could pass the questions on to another friend of theirs so that they could answer the questions as well. So I was fine with that, and that's how I got my participants. In order to be eligible for the research study, the participants only needed to be between the ages of 18 and 35. I was kind of going for the younger adult age, and then they needed to have at least one sibling with whom they grew up with, and then the interview was actually especially applicable to participants who had more than one sibling, with at least one of them being at least 5 or more years younger or older than them. So 70% of the participants identified as Caucasian, 30% identified as other, 60% of the participants were female, 40% male, The average age of the females was 21, average age of the males was 21.75. The total number of siblings between both the male and female participants was 19, the age differences ranging from 0 to 17 years, and then the average age difference between those siblings and the participants was 9.1 years. So these questions are the ones that I sent to them to have them answer. I'll put those up in the screen. And then the results that I got were very interesting. Upon completion of the interviews, it was clear that there was no all-encompassing answer that was going to be found for my research. Unfortunately, I was doing a qualitative study and it couldn't summarize the answers anyway. But basically the reason that it couldn't be summarized, even if it wasn't qualitative, was because these families are just too different. The families, they raise their children differently, they have different morals, rules, backgrounds, ethnicities, religions, and that all plays a factor in how they were raised. I was able to find a few similarities between some of the responses of the participants, though. For example, to the question, were you taught as children not to fight with your siblings? If yes, what were you taught? All except for one participant stated that they were indeed taught not to fight and to figure out a way to get along. One of the participants said, yes, we were taught not to name, call, or hit each other. We were taught to say sorry if feelings were hurt. Conflict strategies that the participants reported using with their siblings ranged greatly. There was the silent treatment, talking it out with one another, and then even verbal and physical aggression. So those varied greatly. Another similarity was to the question, to what extent do you think age plays a role in the way you and your siblings experience conflict? And all participants unanimously responded that they said that they consider the age difference between themselves and their siblings as playing a huge role in the way that they experience conflict. One of the participants said, I think age plays a huge role in the way we handle conflict. I remember hearing stories of my sisters fighting with each other in a more physical and angry type of way, and the way we fight now with each other is more just a disagreement of views that we can work out in a mature way to get to a solution that we feel is beneficial. The last main similarity that I found between the responses of the participants was to the question, do you think that if the age between you and your siblings were different, like a larger or smaller age gap, or the older or younger sibling roles were reversed, the way you experience conflict with your siblings would be different? All participants again unanimously responded, saying that their experiences with conflict would be greatly changed if the ages of their siblings were changed so that they were somewhat closer to the same age and of an age where a certain level of maturity was attained. One participant stated, yes, if we were all within the same age group, I strongly believe we would not get into conflicts and there would be a form of peace without mixed emotions. Overall, with this research study, there were some very clear connections that could be made with age and the way it affects sibling conflict. However, as previously mentioned, all the families are so different and their backgrounds differ too greatly in order for me to conclude with any certainty if there's any correlation between the age differences and the way that they experience conflict. So upon completion of the research, I have learned a lot and gained a lot of insight into families and the way that they experience conflict. Reading the responses from my participants was very entertaining. I really loved hearing about all of the ways that they experience conflict and how different they were from one another and from my own experiences. But at this point, I did not get a response that I'm satisfied with to my research question. Some implications of the research are that being taught as kids to handle conflict in a constructive way helped the participants to figure out constructive ways to handle conflict as adults, and the amount of times that the siblings see each other now also may have an effect on how often they experience conflict. I know it does for me. For example, one participant responded stating that she sees her older brother a few times a year and that they almost never experience conflict. So another participant stated that they see their sibling every day and they experience conflict at least once a week or more. So future research about this topic should definitely focus on the ways that siblings are able to resolve these conflicts and compare the strategies and tactics used to do so. Age differences may have an effect on these strategies. Additionally, future research may want to use participants with specific age differences among the siblings. There was a wide range of age differences with my participants, so the answers were pretty varied. And lastly, asking the participants to specify whether their siblings were male or female may also have an effect on the results or interpretations of the results, as males and females may get along better with one gender over the other. So that is my research project. I had a lot of fun doing it. I learned a lot, and I am really glad that I had the opportunity to do this. So Thank you.